Okay, hello there, Hollows. So that in this video I'm going to be talking about the game Ravenlok. Now, this is an interesting game. I wasn't sure whether I would cover it on the channel or not, but like with my Resident Evil 4 video, I thought, well, since I'm playing it anyway, I might as well make a video covering it, and then we'll just see if people seem to be interested. This is a game that is exclusive to the Xbox, as far as I'm aware, and it is developed by Cococucumber. That's the name of the people who developed this game. I've never heard of them before. I've never played any of their games before, but I saw this game in the Xbox Coming Soon section on my Xbox, and I thought it looked really interesting. The art style, the visual aesthetic, I thought was very different. It struck me straight away, and it grabbed my attention. And then I thought, okay, well, I've got Xbox Game Pass anyway, and it's free on Xbox Game Pass, so I thought I'd install it and I'll give it a go. And I really like a lot of things this game has to offer, specifically the art style. It's the number one thing that grabbed me. I absolutely love the aesthetic of this whole game. Now, this game is going for sort of an Alice in Wonderland approach, where your main character at the start, you just moved into this new house and you come across this old mirror, which is supposed to be the looking glass from the Alice in Wonderland books. And you touch the mirror and then you get drawn into this world, which is, I assume, supposed to be Wonderland. But believe me, the gameplay of this game and the whole... I can't quite explain it, but I really love the visual art style of this game. I think you can kind of see what I'm talking about on the screen through the gameplay, which I'm going to be showing. Now, this game also has quite an emphasis on boss fights, because I'm talking about this to my Dark Souls fans that are on my channel. This game is incredibly easy, so do not expect to get any kind of real satisfaction out of beating the bosses or dying. You're going to die loads of times to the bosses. No, you're not. You're not going to die to any of the bosses, probably. You'll probably beat them first go. And if you don't beat them first go, you'll probably beat them on your second go. Because this game is incredibly easy. That is, I personally think one of its biggest faults is that it seems like it's probably because it's free on Game Pass. So I kind of understand it. There's going to be a lot of people just trying the game, installing it randomly, and they don't want to turn people off. But I think this game really could have gone a bit further, because the game has a leveling system, but it's the most primitive leveling system I have probably ever seen. Because basically the combat in this game is you attack by pressing one button, you can block by pressing another button, and then you have a variety. You can also dodge. You've got this dash dodge, which is similar to sort of Bloodborne's dash, but it doesn't consume stamina. Stamina basically in this game is negligent if you're going to be dashing and dodging, which is what I found. So because I obviously am used to the Dark Souls games, I naturally gravitated towards the dodge/dash button. But there is a blocking mechanic in the game. You can block enemies' attacks by holding down Y, and doing that consumes stamina. Every second in which you're holding and you're blocking, you consume stamina, and if you take a hit whilst you are blocking, you also consume some of your stamina. I just decide I just don't use it in this game. I just don't block anything in this game. I have barely died, and I don't think I've blocked a single thing. I just dodged the attacks instead. Obviously, from that Dark Souls background, I naturally am going to be doing that. So I'm not even going to comment on whether you can, I don't know, whether it can break your stance if you run out of stamina or anything. I don't know, because I literally haven't blocked a single enemy's attack in my entire time with this game. And as I've been making this video, I think I'm about 80 to 90% of the way through the game. I'm only going to be showing gameplay from about the first half of the game, maybe the first third, just in case people want to check it out or anything. I don't want to spoil some of the later areas, but basically, I think this game's main flaw is that it's just too simple and too primitive in terms of the leveling system, the stats and everything. This game could have been absolutely fantastic, and I think it probably could have made it into some of my favourite games ever. Honestly, if I'm being completely honest, I think it could have been, if they just sort of pushed it a bit more and not almost... It's hard to... It's almost like the game is almost trying to appeal to children in terms of its simplicity and ease of difficulty. But then you look at some of the designs of, specifically the main boss of the game, the queen, like the design of the face, the fact that the face opens up and everything is pretty creepy, and I think that's a pretty cool design. And it's, you know, some parts of the game are a little bit creepy as well. So the it's just generally too simple for my liking. And I think you've got 3 stats in the game. You've got your health, your stamina, and I think the damage that you do. All 3 of them are tied to leveling, but you level up just by defeating enemies. You get a currency, and then you spend that currency, and it levels up all of your statistics at the same time. You just can level up over and over again, incredibly cheap, and you get incredibly powerful really quickly. Now, the main thing that this game does, so that it doesn't get too boring, is it introduces skills, which you acquire by progressing through the game. You find that after you've defeated a couple of bosses, this like cat thing comes to you, and then it gives you another skill, and the skills are tied to the bumpers and the triggers. To the left bumper, left trigger, right bumper, right trigger, all become associated with a skill by the time you've got to a certain part of the game. The skills, they're all on a timer, on a cooldown timer, so you can use them infinitely, but they have a cooldown. That's the main thing that sort of balances the combat, but the balance of the combat is still broken, unfortunately. You're incredibly powerful, incredibly quickly in this game, to the point where I think it's at the game's detriment, because you defeat enemies so quick and you can stun lock them with your basic attack. Every single enemy, generally in this game, you can stun lock them. You hit them once and they get stunned, and then as long as you keep hitting them, and because there's no stamina regeneration and you don't consume stamina by attacking or anything like that, you can attack infinitely, just constantly over and over again. And I personally think, I know I don't like to always compare everything to Dark Souls, but it is my favourite game of all time, and this is a Dark Souls channel. But I really feel like if attacks were actually tied to stamina, and it had a stamina management system similar to Dark Souls, the combat would be infinitely better in this game. Have it so your attacks, they consume stamina, your dodge consumes stamina, and then I think the whole combat and everything would be just so much better. Unfortunately, this game doesn't have difficulties either, because I would have loved to have played this game on harder difficulty and seen if maybe they did introduce things like that that made the game, because generally the game feels like it's on the easiest difficulty constantly to me. I would love it if maybe they added in DLC to increase the difficulty, or just something, because I really think this game has some fantastic charm to it, and the quests and just the world really has me enthralled, and that's the main thing that was pushing me through the game, because the combat after a couple of hours did start getting quite boring, because it's that easy, to the point where you are just blitzing through everything. Nothing is a challenge to you, that it does start to get a little bit boring. And that's my biggest issue that I generally have with the game, is the difficulty, because the quests and the very light puzzles I quite liked. And I quite liked having to sort of, look in the environment for certain keys and things, and then talk to a character, and then if you give this one character this one key, he'll give you another item, and this item you need to unlock this area, and then in there you'll find another item which is used for another quest, and then that person will give you another item which you can use for a puzzle, and then you use it in this puzzle, and then you put in this code which gives you another item. That kind of stuff, it's not Resident Evil style, but it reminds me of that kind of really simple kind of puzzles where you're just sort of going from one place to another, trying to get items which you use on puzzles to unlock certain things, which then unlock another area. That kind of thing. I quite liked that, and I found that was something which worked really well in this kind of game as well, because I was paying attention to the environments, and I was paying attention to what the characters were saying to me and what they were asking. I was trying to complete all their quests, and I really liked it. And I think this game is a really nice blend of light RPG elements, very, very, very light RPG elements, really interesting and engaging world and story, and, well, I wouldn't say an engaging story, but an engaging world. I really liked the world and the aesthetics and the art style. And I think, for me, I've never actually played a game, I don't think, before, where I feel like the number one thing that was stopping me from enjoying it even more was actually the lack of difficulty. This is almost the opposite of the Dark Souls effect, where some people found Dark Souls too hard, so it put them off the game. this game for me I found too easy to the point where it was putting me off playing the game. But I will say that I'm definitely going to be paying attention to this developer in the future, and I would absolutely love to see what game they're going to come out with next, because I have a feeling that maybe they made this game so easy because they knew it was going to be free on Game Pass, and therefore they wanted to encourage lots of people to check out the game because it's going to be free, so they didn't want to put people off with a higher difficulty. Because when I'm playing the game, the fact that there is a level up system which is tied to enemies you kill, so you kill enemies, you gain this currency which you then spend on levels. The fact the game has stamina, which is almost pointless. There's almost no need for there to be there's almost no need for there to be stamina if you dodge. But then the fact the game's got a dodge mechanic, it almost makes me feel like they had something planned a little bit more, which might have been a bit more Souls-esque in terms of the combat. And I genuinely feel that because you've got stats and leveling, like I said, you know, you kill enemies, you acquire this currency which you then spend to level up, but it feels like leveling up is almost pointless really a lot of time, because you just press a button and then it increases all your stats immediately. The game's got a stat screen, but you don't need to know your stats because everything's tied to this one level up button. You've also got a stamina system in the game, but then the stamina system is just that pointless and you never really need to use it or pay attention to it. Again, it feels like they might have had something more planned here, but they wanted to make the game easier to appeal to a mass market because of Xbox Game Pass. And I personally, I genuinely think that if this game had a hard difficulty, which used some of these mechanics, I think this would have been a fantastic game. But I personally am going to give this game probably a 7 out of 10, I think, personally. I really like every aspect of the game. It was just too easy, to the point where I absolutely blitzed through the game in no time at all. And it was just too easy. But the art style, the aesthetics and everything, I liked a lot of things this game was going for. But it was just a bit disappointing, really, that it was so easy. Because when I was looking at the game in the marketing, the early marketing, I didn't know that. You know, it looked like I was thinking, oh yeah, this could be, you know, I didn't think it was going to be challenging because the art style and everything, it didn't seem like it was going to be a challenging game, but I thought it would at least be medium difficulty. But it's just so easy. But everything else about the game, genuinely, don't let me put you off this game by saying it's so easy, because I don't feel like, you know, I think you can still enjoy the game regardless of it. I did. That's why I gave it a 7 out of 10. It's still an above average game. It's better than most games that I play nowadays. There wasn't any holding your hand, really. The game didn't make itself easier when I died at certain points. It's just the overall difficulty of the game was very easy. But anyway, let me know what you think if you've played this game. If not, then maybe check it out. I know it is an Xbox exclusive, but it might end up being on PC. I mean, it might be on PC, actually, I don't know. If it is on PC, I would recommend checking it out, because I know a lot of you on this channel are PC gamers. But anyway, if you enjoyed this video, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Maybe even share this video with anyone you think might enjoy it if it was good enough. Thank you again for watching. This is SoulReborn, signing out. Have a good one.